The Russian Federation is accusing Ukraine of launching a drone attack against the Kremlin in an attempt to assassinate President Putin. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and we're going to see the latest escalation in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine and what it all means going forward. An explosion over the heart of the Kremlin sent shockwaves across the Russian nation last night. According to Russian sources, at approximately 2 a.m., 2 Ukrainian drones attacked the Kremlin in an attempt to kill President Vladimir Putin, who, as it turns out, was not inside the Kremlin at the time of the attack. Officials say that the drones were intercepted and destroyed by Russian air defense systems positioned at the Kremlin, that they caused no damage to the building. Now, of course, as far as our legacy media is concerned, they're going into overdrive to once again, that's right, once again portray this as nothing more than Russian disinformation.
This kind of propaganda side going.
As I come back to this, let's first listen to President Zelensky. It's important for our viewers to see him and hear him just moments ago saying, no way.
We don't attack Putin or Moscow.
That's how the Putin communications, the propaganda machine works so well.
I mean, that's a beautiful shot, right, John? Gorgeous. So we've got this kind of propaganda side going.
And you're also telling your people, especially if it's a lie and it's propaganda.
Now, curiously enough, Zelensky isn't in Ukraine. He's in Finland meeting with Nordic leaders. So strange that an attack like this would happen when Zelensky is conveniently nowhere near Ukraine. But regardless, this is the key that I think everyone has to understand here. Regardless of what actually happened, regardless of whether this really was a bona fide attack by Ukrainian forces trying to assassinate Putin, or whether this was a false flag carried out by the Russians, regardless, the key here is this. What do the Russian people think? What's the Russian perception of what happened? And that's so key here because it will determine to a large extent the momentum of this conflict. It frankly doesn't matter who carried it out. It doesn't matter in terms of how it's going to affect things on the ground going forward in Ukraine. And if you want a sense of Russian perception, all you have to do is see what Russian leaders are saying in response to this. Former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, said, and I quote, that the overnight drone attack on the Kremlin has left Moscow with no options but to eliminate, that's the translated Russian word, eliminate Ukrainian President Zelensky and his so-called clique. Zero Hedge commented that Medvedev is essentially calling for a decapitation strike the government of Kiev. And he's hardly alone. Russian official after Russian official, they're all unanimous in their call to basically take out Kiev in retaliation. And that's all you really need to know. Here's ex-CIA analyst Larry Johnson on the Russian public's perception of what happened.
Think about it. They're coming up on, as you correctly noted, the May 9th celebration, the March of the Immortals, the end of World War II. The last time you had aircraft flying over Moscow, dropping bombs or containing explosives, with the Russian capital having to fire anti-aircraft guns, was World War II. So, I mean, this is something that goes deep into the Russian soul that I'm not sure people in the West really appreciate. But again, the symbolism of this, maybe if Americans can remember the feeling they had on the morning of 9/11, watching planes fly into the World Trade Center and fly into the Pentagon, and just the anger that resonated from that, while there are no casualties by any measure comparable to what was suffered in the United States in 9/11, nonetheless, the act itself, I think, carries that kind of weight when it comes to Russia.
If you suffer from daily pain, I need you to listen to this message very carefully. As we age, aches and pains are normal, and we're all searching for effective ways to relieve pain. And in light of this opioid crisis, safety is more important than ever. And that's where groundbreaking medical scientist comes in, Clint Winters. Now, you've seen Clint on Fox. You've read about him in Forbes. He's a world-renowned health expert who's unveiled a natural pain reliever that's taking the world by storm. It's called CB2, the 100% drug-free way to get full-body pain relief without dangerous meds. It's the go-to pain reliever for hundreds of professional athletes, tens of thousands of seniors, and the pain reliever of choice for the UFC. Gang, I got to tell you, I was skeptical about this, but it works. It's like all of my daily pain just faded away. My back, neck, joints all feel great and renewed. And the best news, CB2 has no documented side effects after years in private testing. It's absolutely the future of pain relief. Just ask the athletes and the UFC. It's their official pain reliever. So whatever you do, make sure to click on that link below and check out Clint's amazingly informative report on how CB2 is changing lives by providing safe and powerful relief at a fraction of the cost of pain pills. Click on that link below right now. So in light of what Larry Johnson had to say there, I hope we can appreciate just how serious this drone attack was for the Russian imagination. It doesn't help that they've already seen a number of terrorist attacks carried out within their borders against their own citizens over the last few months, from that horrific car bombing that claimed the life of Daria Dugina, the daughter of Eurasian philosopher and theorist Alexander Dugin, as well as more recently the influential Russian blogger Vladimir Tatarsky. And just so you know, the New York Times has quietly confirmed that U.S. intelligence officials do in fact believe that parts of the Ukrainian government authorized that car bomb that killed Daria Dugina. And the Times claimed that U.S. officials, in their words, admonished Ukrainian officials for the assassination. They admonished them. I mean, seriously, gang, what the F do you think Russians think of that? I mean, if they've witnessed Ukrainian terrorism within their borders over the last few months like that, what do you think they're going to make of what just happened last night over the Kremlin, especially in light of the World War II memories that such scenes evoke? So what happened last night, you can be sure, just steeled the resolve of the Russian people to give Putin all the time he needs to secure an absolute victory over Ukraine. As for Putin, analysts think he's going to stay the course. He's not going to go rogue. He's not going to be impulsive, as it were, and obliterate Kiev. No, he's going to remain rather unfazed by this, cold and steely. He'll continue his course of slow, relentless grinding down the Ukrainian military until they finally simply implode. He knows he has the overwhelming numbers advantage in terms of troops, the overwhelming missile advantage, the overwhelming manufacturing advantage. They've been preparing for this for 10 years. And it's just a matter of time before the Ukrainian army just simply grinds to a halt. And that's the kind of warfare that Putin chose to employ here. Not the shock and awe that gets you great media coverage, but in the end is mostly superficial, as we learned in both Afghanistan and Iraq, learned the hard way. You got to completely and totally grind down military capability, including, unfortunately, neutralizing most of the troops. And only then will you have a total surrender. And that looks like what we're seeing here. Slowly but surely, more and more Western commentators are admitting that Ukraine is not, I repeat, is not going to win this. Perhaps it was the leaked Pentagon documents that appeared online a few weeks back that confirmed that Ukrainian casualties far outnumbered Russian casualties, 7-1. Absolutely unsustainable casualty numbers. Who knows what the catalyst was, but more and more pundits are recognizing the Russian forces are going to decide this war. Russia is going to make the decision when this ends and how it ends. And there's very little that Zelensky or NATO can do about that. So obviously we'll keep an eye on how things develop here, but there's little question that whatever happened last night over the Kremlin, it's done nothing more than to steel the resolve of the Russian people for a total and decisive victory. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Media Matters' attempt at smearing Tucker Carlson, backfiring spectacularly. You're not going to want to miss that, so make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.